The beer in Finn Parker's hand had long gone warm as he sat at the worn oak bar, staring at his phone where the text from his babysitter glowed mockingly. "Sorry, can't make it tomorrow. Something came up." He rubbed his eyes, exhaustion seeping into his bones. Tomorrow was his interview at Meridian Tech, possibly his one shot at pulling himself, and his 8-year-old daughter Emma out of the financial quicksand they'd been sinking into since his layoff 6 months ago. "Looks like you could use another," said the bartender, nodding at Finn's mostly full glass. "No, thanks. This one's barely touched and I've got to stay sharp for my daughter." He checked his watch. In an hour, he'd need to pick Emma up from her friend's birthday party, and tomorrow he needed to somehow find a babysitter or kiss the interview goodbye. Finn Parker, is that you?" The voice came from behind him, familiar yet different, warmer, more confident than he remembered. He turned to find himself staring into the striking green eyes of a woman he hadn't seen in 15 years. "Cassidy," he breathed, recognition dawning. Cassidy Preston. Her smile was exactly as he remembered from their high school days, bright enough to light up the dingy bar. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent, her auburn hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. "I can't believe it's you," she said, sliding onto the bar stool beside him. "What are you doing in a place like this on a Thursday night?" Finn laughed, the sound rusty with disuse. "I could ask you the same thing. You're a bit overdressed for O'Malley's, don't you think?" Conference call ran late at the office. "I was headed home when I decided I needed a drink first." She gestured to the bartender. "Scotch neat." "And whatever he's having." "Just water for me," Finn interjected quickly. "Driving duty calls." "Married?" she asked, eyes flicking to his bare left hand. "Divorced, 3 years now. I've got an 8-year-old daughter, Emma." Something softened in Cassidy's expression. "Single dad, huh?" "How's that going?" He hesitated. Pride told him to lie, to say everything was fine. But the weight of the past 6 months, the stack of unpaid bills, the constant job rejections, Emma's disappointed face when he had to say no to another birthday party invitation because he couldn't afford a gift pressed down on him. "It's tough right now. I was let go from Larson Engineering when they downsized. Been freelancing, but it's not enough." Cassidy nodded, listening intently. "I'm sorry to hear that. What's your field again?" "Electrical engineering, right?" "Software engineering. I specialize in security protocols." Her eyebrows rose slightly. "Cybersecurity, that's a hot field. Tell that to the companies not hiring me." He shook his head. "Sorry, didn't mean to dump that on you. What about you? What are you doing these days?" A small, almost mysterious smile played on her lips. "I run a company." "Yeah. What kind?" "Tech, primarily. We develop enterprise security solutions." She took a sip of her scotch. "Actually, I'm in town for a few days overseeing the opening of our new office downtown. Sounds like you've done well for yourself." Finn felt a genuine surge of happiness for her. Back in high school, Cassidy had always been brilliant, determined in a way that had both impressed and intimidated him. They'd been close friends until senior year when everything had changed between them. "I've been lucky," she said modestly. "Luck has nothing to do with it." "You were always the smartest person in the room," she laughed. "Coming from the guy who beat me in the state coding competition, I don't think so. That was a fluke and you know it. Your algorithm was better. Mine just ran faster on their test systems." The easy banter between them felt like no time had passed at all. They fell into reminiscing about their high school days, the coding club they'd co-founded, the late nights spent debating the merits of different programming languages. "Remember Mrs. Holloway's computer science class?" Cassidy asked, laughing. "When you crashed the entire school network trying to set up that chat room, hey, I fixed it before anyone noticed. Well, except you noticed right away." "Because I was trying to use the same exploit to set up a game server," she admitted with a mischievous grin. Finn found himself relaxing for the first time in months. There was something about Cassidy that had always put him at ease, even as teenagers when his crush on her had tied his tongue in knots. His phone buzzed with a text. "Sorry, that's my reminder. I need to pick up Emma soon." Cassidy nodded, a flicker of disappointment crossing her face. "Of course, it was really good seeing you, Finn. You too," he hesitated. Actually, I have an interview tomorrow at Meridian Tech, but my babysitter just canceled. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Meridian. Cassidy looked thoughtful. What time is your interview? 10 in the morning. I could watch her. The offer came easily, surprising them both. If you'd be comfortable with that, of course. Finn blinked. You do that. Don't you have your company to run? I can work remotely for a few hours. It's not a problem. She pulled out a business card and scribbled something on the back. Here's my personal number. Text me your address and I'll come by around 9:30. Finn took the card, turning it over in his hands. The embossed front read Cassidy Preston, CEO, Preston Secure Technologies. CEO, he said, looking up at her with new understanding. You don't just run a company, you're the head of Preston Secure. They're one of the leading cybersecurity firms in the country. A faint blush colored her cheeks. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Cassidy, that's incredible. His admiration was genuine, though accompanied by a twinge of embarrassment at his own situation. All the more reason you shouldn't be babysitting. Nonsense. It would be my pleasure to meet your daughter. She stood, placing a generous tip on the bar. Besides, I owe you for all those times you tutored me through calculus. You never needed tutoring, you just let me think you did. She smiled, caught in the old lie. Maybe I just liked spending time with you. The words hung in the air between them, weighted with unspoken history. I should go, Finn said finally, standing as well. Text me your address, she reminded him, then impulsively leaned in and kissed his cheek. It's really good to see you again, Finn. As he watched her walk out of the bar, Finn touched his cheek where her lips had been, feeling like he'd been thrown back in time to when they were 18 and full of possibilities before life had taken them in such different directions. The next morning, Finn's small apartment was in barely controlled chaos. Emma had spilled orange juice on her school uniform, he couldn't find his only decent tie, and the bathroom sink had chosen this moment to start leaking again. Daddy, is Miss Cassidy your girlfriend? Emma asked, watching him struggle with the tie he'd finally located under a pile of clean laundry. No, honey, she's an old friend from when I was in school. Is she pretty? Finn smiled despite his nerves. Yes, she's pretty and very smart. Smart like you, smarter, he admitted. Now remember your manners. Miss Cassidy is doing us a big favor. The doorbell rang, and Emma raced to answer it, ignoring his call to wait. By the time Finn reached the door, Emma was already chattering away to Cassidy, who knelt at eye level with his daughter, genuinely engaged in a conversation about Emma's science project. Cassidy looked up at Finn with a warm smile. She dressed more casually today in dark jeans and a soft blue sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. The transformation from corporate CEO to approachable babysitter was remarkable and oddly touching. Sorry about the mess, Finn said, gesturing around the apartment. We weren't exactly expecting company. It's homey, she replied diplomatically, standing. Her eyes took in the modest space, the second-hand furniture, the wall of bookshelves overflowing with engineering texts and children's books, the dining table covered with Emma's art supplies. I like it. Emma tugged at Cassidy's hand. Want to see my room? I have a solar system mobile that Daddy helped me make. I'd love to. Cassidy allowed herself to be led away, throwing an amused glance at Finn over her shoulder. Finn finished getting ready, listening to the animated conversation drifting from Emma's room. By the time he was set to leave, Emma was showing Cassidy how to play her favorite card game at the kitchen table. I've left the contact information for Emma's school on the fridge, Finn explained. She's already had breakfast and there's lunch in the refrigerator. Finn, Cassidy interrupted gently, we'll be fine. Go ace that interview. He hesitated, then nodded, bending to kiss Emma's forehead. Be good for Miss Cassidy, okay? I'll be back soon. Good luck, Daddy. As he headed out the door, Finn heard Emma ask, Do you know how to code like my daddy? He's teaching me HTML. Cassidy's warm laugh followed him down the hallway. I sure do. Maybe we could write a program together while he's gone. The interview at Meridian Tech went surprisingly well. The technical questions were challenging but within his expertise, and the team seemed impressed by his portfolio. As he was preparing to leave, the hiring manager mentioned they were looking to make a decision quickly. We have a few more candidates to see, she explained, but we should know by early next week. The position reports directly to our CTO, who's particularly interested in your background with financial security protocols. Encouraged but trying not to get his hopes up, Finn headed home. When he arrived, the apartment was suspiciously quiet. He found Emma and Cassidy huddled over Emma's small desk, both intently focused on her laptop screen. "And if we change this variable here," Cassidy was saying, pointing at the screen, "what do you think will happen?" Emma's face scrunched in concentration. "The circle will get bigger. Let's try it and see." They made the change, and Emma squealed with delight when the animation responded exactly as predicted. "It worked. Daddy, look what we made." Finn leaned over to see a simple but colorful animation of a solar system, with planets orbiting a sun at different speeds. "Miss Cassidy taught me about loops and variables, and we ate lunch, and then she helped me with my multiplication tables, and she knows all about Jupiter too." "Sounds like you two had fun," Finn said, his heart warming at his daughter's excitement. "We did," Cassidy confirmed, standing. "Emma's a quick study. She debugged that orbit calculation on her own." Pride swelled in Finn's chest. "That's my girl," Emma beamed. "Can Miss Cassidy come over again sometime?" The question hung awkwardly in the air. Cassidy smiled, but there was something wistful in her expression. "I'm sure Miss Cassidy is very busy, Emma," Finn began. "Actually," Cassidy interjected, "I'm in town until Sunday. Maybe we could all do something together tomorrow, if you're free, that is. Please, Daddy." Emma's pleading eyes were impossible to resist. "If you're sure you don't mind," Finn said to Cassidy, "I'm sure." She gathered her things, pausing by the door. "How about the Science Museum? I heard they have a new robotics exhibit." "The Science Museum costs money," Emma said matter-of-factly, with the bluntness only children possess. Finn felt his face flush. "Emma, my treat," Cassidy said quickly. "Consider it my way of catching up on 15 years of birthday presents I missed giving you, Emma." After she left, with plans made for the following day, Emma peppered Finn with questions about his friend Cassidy. When he finally got her settled for bed, she asked one final question that caught him off guard. "Daddy, why did your eyes get all sparkly when Miss Cassidy was here, did they?" he asked, tucking her in. Emma nodded solemnly. "Like they used to get when Mommy was still living with us." Before she got mean. Finn swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. His marriage to Laura had crumbled under financial pressure and her resentment over putting her career on hold. By the end, there had been little warmth between them, something Emma had clearly noticed even at 5 years old. "Miss Cassidy and I were good friends a long time ago," he said finally. "Sometimes it's nice to see old friends again." "I think she likes you," Emma declared with certainty. "She kept looking at you when you weren't looking. Did she now?" Finn tried to sound casual, but the thought sent an unexpected thrill through him. "Time for sleep, scientist. We've got a big day tomorrow." The Science Museum was crowded on Saturday, but Emma's enthusiasm was contagious. Cassidy matched her energy, explaining complex concepts in ways Emma could understand, never talking down to her. Finn found himself watching Cassidy as much as the exhibits, struck by how naturally she interacted with his daughter. "She's amazing with her," he commented when Emma had raced ahead to the next display. "She makes it easy," Cassidy replied. "She's so bright, Finn. You're doing an incredible job with her." "I'm trying. It hasn't been easy since the divorce, especially this past year." He hesitated, then added, "Laura, my ex, she's remarried now, lives in California. Emma sees her twice a year. That must be hard on both of you." "It was at first, now it's just our normal," he shrugged. "Emma's resilient, more than I am sometimes." They caught up to Emma, who was fascinated by a demonstration of magnetic levitation. As they moved through the exhibits, Finn found himself repeatedly drawn to Cassidy, the way she laughed, how she listened intently to Emma's questions, the casual touches she placed on his arm when making a point. By late afternoon, Emma's energy was flagging despite her protests that she wasn't tired. When they stopped at the museum cafe, she fell asleep against Finn's side within minutes of sitting down. "Poor thing's exhausted," Cassidy said softly, reaching over to brush a strand of hair from Emma's forehead. "She had a great time. Thank you for this." "I should be thanking you. This is the most fun I've had in years." She stirred her coffee absently. My life is mostly boardrooms and conference calls. This is refreshing. Hard to believe we ended up in such different places, Finn mused. You running a tech empire, me struggling to make rent. Life doesn't always go as planned, she agreed. I never expected to be a CEO before 40. Just like I'm sure you never expected to be a single dad. No, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Emma's the best thing that ever happened to me. Cassidy's eyes softened. I can see that, she hesitated. Can I ask what happened with you and Laura, if that's not too personal? Not too personal after everything you've done for us this weekend. He shifted carefully to avoid waking Emma. The short version, I was focused on my career, she was focused on hers, and neither of us realized how far apart we'd drifted until it was too late. Then Emma came along and Laura realized motherhood wasn't what she wanted. She stuck it out for 5 years, but we were both miserable by the end. I'm sorry. Don't be. The divorce was actually a relief, at least we stopped pretending. He looked at her curiously. What about you? No husband hiding in the wings of your corporate empire, she laughed softly. No, there was someone a few years ago, another CEO. We looked perfect on paper, but there was no spark, no real connection. She met his gaze steadily, not like with some people. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken meaning. Cassidy, he began, not sure what he was going to say. I never forgot you, you know, she said quietly. After that night at prom, when I told you I was going to MIT and you said you'd been accepted to state. We both knew long distance wouldn't work. We were young, Finn agreed, and scared. I've regretted not trying though, especially after running into you again. She reached across the table, her fingers lightly touching his. Life gave us a second chance to at least be friends, I'd like that. Friends, he repeated, the word feeling simultaneously right and inadequate. I'd like that too. Emma stirred against him, blinking sleepily. Can we see the dinosaurs now? Cassidy pulled her hand back, smiling at Emma. I think we've done enough for one day, sweetheart. How about we get you home for some rest? But you're leaving tomorrow, Emma protested, suddenly wide awake. Who's going to help me with my coding when you're gone? The innocent question hung in the air, highlighting the temporary nature of their reunion. Tomorrow, Cassidy would fly back to her headquarters in Boston, and their lives would return to their separate orbits. I can video chat with you sometimes, Cassidy offered. If your dad says it's okay, Emma looked to Finn hopefully. Daddy. Of course it's okay, he said, though the thought of Cassidy slipping back out of their lives left an unexpected ache in his chest. That evening, after dropping Emma off with a neighbor for a playdate, Finn invited Cassidy to dinner at a modest Italian restaurant near his apartment. The conversation flowed easily between them, touching on everything from their current projects to their favorite books. Have you heard back about the Meridian position? Cassidy asked as they lingered over dessert. Not yet. The hiring manager said early next week. I have a good feeling about it, she said, then hesitated. Finn, there's something I should tell you. The serious tone made him pause, fork halfway to his mouth. What is it? Preston Secure acquired Meridian Tech 3 months ago. It's one of our subsidiary companies now. Finn set his fork down. So you're, what? My potential boss's boss's boss, something like that. She looked uncomfortable. I want to be clear, I had no idea you were interviewing there when we met at the bar, and I haven't said anything to anyone at Meridian about knowing you. I believe you. He did, instinctively. Cassidy had always been straightforward, even when they were teenagers. But why tell me now? Because if they offer you the job, I want you to know you earned it on your own merits, and because. She took a deep breath. Because if we're going to explore whatever this is between us, I want complete honesty from the start. Whatever this is between us, he repeated slowly. And what do you think this is, Cassidy? Her gaze was steady. I think it's a connection that never really went away, one I'd like to explore further if you're interested. I am, he admitted, but I'm a package deal. Emma comes first always. I wouldn't want it any other way, she smiled. She's an amazing kid, Finn. And you live in Boston, I'm here. Long distance didn't work for us at 18, why would it work now? Because we're not 18 anymore. She reached across the table, taking his hand. And because some things are worth the effort. The next morning brought a tearful goodbye from Emma, who made Cassidy promise to video call the following weekend, to see the completed science project. As they stood by Cassidy's rental car, the moment felt weighted with possibility and uncertainty. "This doesn't have to be goodbye," Cassidy said softly. "Not like last time, I know." Finn stepped closer, his hand coming up to brush her cheek. "But what happens when you go back to your world and I'm still stuck in mine? We figure it out, one day at a time." She leaned into his touch. "I have a confession to make. Another one. I've thought about you over the years, more than I should have. Wondered what might have happened if we'd been brave enough to try." "I've thought about you too," he admitted, "especially lately with everything falling apart. I've been asking myself where I went wrong, what fork in the road led me here. And what have you concluded? That maybe it wasn't wrong at all. Maybe it was exactly where I needed to be to find my way back to you." The kiss, when it finally came, felt like both a beginning and a continuation, soft and questioning at first, then deepening with 15 years of unspoken longing. When they pulled apart, Cassidy's eyes were bright with emotion. "Call me when you hear about the job," she said. "No matter what happens, I will." 2 days later, Finn's phone rang with news from Meridian Tech. The job was his, with a salary that would stabilize his finances and a flexible schedule that would accommodate Emma's needs. When he called Cassidy with the news, her genuine joy confirmed what he already knew. Her only influence had been encouraging him to believe in himself again. Over the following months, they built their relationship carefully, mindful of the distance and the complexities. Cassidy flew to visit twice a month, becoming a fixture in Emma's life as well as Finn's. They spent hours on video calls, sharing their days and building a foundation stronger than what they'd had as teenagers. 4 months into his new job, Finn received a surprise offer, a promotion to head of security for Preston Secure's main office in Boston. "I didn't arrange this," Cassidy insisted when he called her about it. "The CTO made the recommendation based on your work at Meridian." "I believe you," he said, "but Emma and I would have to relocate. It's a big decision." "I know. And it has to be your decision, Finn, not for me, but for what's best for you and Emma." He took a weekend to think it over, discussing it carefully with Emma, who was excited by the prospect of being closer to Miss Cassidy, but nervous about changing schools. In the end, the opportunity was too good to pass up professionally and personally. 2 months later, Finn and Emma moved into a comfortable condo in a family-friendly Boston neighborhood, close enough to Cassidy's apartment for regular visits, but maintaining their independence. Emma adjusted quickly, thriving in her new school and blossoming under the combined influence of her father and Cassidy, who took her coding skills to new heights. On a crisp autumn evening a year after their chance meeting at O'Malley's bar, Finn and Cassidy sat on her balcony overlooking the Boston skyline, Emma fast asleep in the guest room she now considered her own. "Do you ever wonder if it was really chance?" Cassidy asked, her hand warm in his. "Us meeting again that night. What do you mean, of all the bars in all the towns?" She smiled. "I'd been thinking about you that week. A tech blog ran a profile on one of your security patches from Larson. I saw your name and almost reached out. Why didn't you?" "I wasn't sure you'd want to hear from me after all this time. Then fate stepped in," Finn chuckled. "Or my babysitter canceling and me needing a drink. Same thing," she leaned against him. "I'm glad we got our second chance, me too." He reached into his pocket, fingers closing around the small velvet box he'd been carrying for a week. "Which is why I was hoping we might make it official." Cassidy's eyes widened as he shifted to kneel before her, opening the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I asked Emma for permission first," he said, his voice steady despite the hammering of his heart. "She said yes, by the way, very enthusiastically." "Finn," Cassidy whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. 15 years ago, I let you walk away because I was too afraid to fight for what we had. I'm not making that mistake again." He took her hand. "Cassidy Preston, will you marry me, be part of our family officially and completely?" "Yes," she said without hesitation, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes, absolutely yes." As he slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, Finn marveled at the journey that had brought them here, from high school sweethearts to strangers, to a family being built on the foundation of second chances and unwavering love. Their wedding 6 months later was small and intimate, with Emma serving proudly as flower girl and best daughter. As they exchanged vows, Finn thought about the struggling single father he'd been that night at O'Malley's, how close he'd come to leaving before Cassidy walked in, how easily they might have missed each other again. Instead, they'd found their way back to where they were always meant to be. Different people than they'd been at 18, shaped by success and failure, joy and heartbreak, but still fundamentally connected by something that had never truly faded. "I love you," Cassidy whispered as they shared their first dance as husband and wife, Emma joining them halfway through, giggling as Finn lifted her into his arms. Looking at the two most important people in his world, Finn felt a contentment that went bone deep. From struggling single dad to part of a family more loving and complete than he'd ever imagined possible, all because he'd stopped for one drink at a familiar bar, and the universe had finally brought them back together.